Bonjour les amis, this is GenerateHER coming to you directly from the City of Light. I'm Jane Bertch, a Chicago native, Paris-based entrepreneur, author, and your partner in personal reinvention. I've spent the past 20 years living and working in Paris, and after leaving the corporate world and deciding to create something of my own, I've discovered both the beauty and the challenge of building a life shaped by curiosity, creativity, and a sprinkle of courage. In Season 2, we're going to dive deeper into the ideas that spark change. We're going to explore the small habits that shift our trajectories and the trajectories of those around us. We're going to rewrite some of that inner dialogue. We're going to lean into curiosity, and we're going to dare to reinvent ourselves at any stage of life. These are the practices that lead to true transformation. So whether you're planting a seed in your Jardin Secret, your secret garden, or giving voice to your creativity for the very first time, let's step into your next chapter with intention. And of course, with a touch of Parisian charm. So as we say in French, on y va, let's go. Bonjour mes amis. I cannot believe it, but we have approached officially the end of Season 2. Wow. This podcast just started as an idea, and somebody recently just emailed me about it, telling me that she remembers when I first started saying I'd love to do a podcast. And here we are into Season 2, and I'm so grateful if you're tuning in for the first time or if you've tuned into all of these episodes. I truly feel blessed to have this space and to have you to share it with. So thank you. And so for my last episode, I wanted to talk about so many things. My mind has been spinning these past couple of weeks for obvious reasons. There's just so much going on in our world, and to have those moments where we can just hunker down and get within ourselves, I think is rare and precious and needed. So I hope you take time for that. And I hope maybe just some of the things that we've talked about over this past year will help you. Not because I have the answers. These are Jane's answers, but hopefully they will help you think about what your answers should be. And when I think about Season 2, my gosh, we've talked about so many different things. You folks love when I speak French to you, not the language, because I have such an accent that's going nowhere. But when I talk about culture and values, and I love sharing that with you because I think there needs to be space for that. And yes, I do love all of the things, fashion and culture in France, but there's so much more to offer. And there's so much more that we can learn from and learn about. So I've talked about business lessons, all the interesting things I've learned doing business here for 16 years, more than 16 years now. And that learning never ends. I have things that happen every other week that are a surprise. And isn't that lovely? Life is so boring when you already know everything. We've talked about leaving room for magic and how important that is and why you don't need to have all the answers. Because if you have a set path, you don't allow yourself to be open to magic. And I'm going to thank Lily Berry for that. And we've talked about finding your North Star and how to figure out what direction you should go, and to look at this fil rouge, the red thread that goes through all of the things that you've done these years. Maybe there's clues there. And that was my guest, Davina, who I was so happy to have with me. And we've talked about advice, and I've shared with you the advice that I'd like to accept myself in this past year of real reinvention and a small little personal revolution. That you can be multiple things. You are dynamic. You are multidimensional. A flower doesn't have just one petal. So many things can be true, and to accept that and honor that of yourself. And I think when we get so unhappy, it's because we've become one-dimensional. We've forgotten all the other wonderful things that we are and that we can be. And starting something new always challenges those feelings. Can I be more than what I am now? And I love the concept of the Jardin Secret and this beautiful plot of internal land where you harvest your dreams and your secrets and your desires and your hopes, where you nourish them and care for them with the intent of bringing them out into the world. And hopefully you do bring them out. And then hopefully you have a wonderful harvest. And we've talked about the harvest. And the harvest, I think you should do regularly. That's a check-in to see, how did things produce? You know, life is not necessarily on the calendar that we follow. I do think life has different seasons, and I've been in multiple seasons of my life in 1 month. And that's okay. And we can honor that and reflect upon that and look at it. And that always leads us back to what we're always talking about, which is reinvention. I hope that each and every one of us is a different person every time we meet. I hope we are. Because if we're not, then we've put ourselves in a capsule. We haven't had new experiences. We haven't come across new people. We haven't grown. Our values haven't been challenged. And that's a sad thing. So reinvention can be everything from my personal changes to professional. And there's no age limit on that. There's no cap. There's no minimum. There's no maximum. The time is yours. And the time is divine, whenever that is. So those are some of the things we've talked about in season 2. And I want to just pluck out a few things, because one thing I want to leave you with is an exercise for your Jardin d'hiver, your winter garden, which you're in now. It's February. I don't know whether you're following the astronomical or meteorological. We know that we're still in winter, but spring is coming. It always does. So I'm going to give you some exercises I want you to think about in this very beautiful period of winter. But before we get there, I want to talk just about magic and miracles. I wrote about this in my recent newsletter. You know, it's hard to find magic and miracles. And yes, even me in Paris, it's hard to find them every day. And that's not just current days. That's just adulting. That is the life of running a business or being an employee, whatever you fall into, or having a family to manage, or financial stresses, or family obligations, friends. It's all of that that makes it difficult sometimes to find the magic and the miracles and the joy. But I can promise you I've been finding them in Paris for the past month. And I'm going to tell you my secret. Every morning, listen carefully, every morning when I journal, I ask for a miracle. That's all you have to do. There's the secret. Now, my miracle is not winning the lottery. I've not asked for that. I've asked for something to come into my life to make me pause and smile and reflect. And I've had that every single day that I've asked for it. And you know why? Because asking for it has made me present through the day, wondering, okay, where is it? I know it's coming. And sure enough, it comes every day. And it could be something small, like I wanted to find red kiwis. Somebody was telling me about red kiwi, and I've been dying to taste one. And I found one at the Vergère on the corner. That's a miracle here in Paris. Another miracle, I'm shopping in the Bon Marché. Yes, I went in again. I couldn't help myself. I was in the neighborhood, and their stationery department is a siren for me. And I'm shopping, buying more pens than I need, because I do that. And I hear my name. And I turn around, and there's these 2 beautiful women that I've met that are in Paris from out of town. And they told me they're at Bon Marché in the stationery section because of me. I'm officially a journal influencer. Now that's a miracle. Or it could be crossing town on a bus because I have a specific cafe that I like to work in. I've got to take a bus or walk 40 minutes to get there. I miss the first bus, get on the second one. I walk in a huff because I'm late and I had a few things I wanted to do. and it's a solo date. I'm not meeting anybody, but I knew the time that I had allocated. And as I'm walking in, somebody is leaving the cafe, and we look at each other and we recognize each other. And it's our first time meeting in person. It's somebody who I have been watching online and we've been corresponding. And here we are meeting face to face in a cafe. That's another miracle. So my point being, actually I have two. If you ask for them and you stay present, you're going to find it. And it's going to be something so small that's going to make you smile, and it's going to make you feel hope and faith that there's something bigger than you that's answering your call for miracles. So I'm just smiling thinking about it. And number two, most of my miracles are the people that I run into. And the real miracle these days that I love is the reminder that we have so much more in common than not. And those little sweet exchanges, even if just for a minute, are so important to keep us connected. So that's my speech about miracles and writing, just in case you didn't get that hint. So speaking of writing, we are in winter, and I love winter. I love all seasons, but I love winter because I think winter, there's so many misconceptions. Winter, everybody says, let's hibernate, let's go in, let's shut down and not do anything. Now, arguably, that is me to a certain extent. You know, trying to get me out after the sun has fallen on a cold day is close to impossible, but this is not what I'm talking about. I'm just stating that in case a friend is listening to this, because I know what they're going to say. I want to talk about the going within us and how beautiful this period is, this winter period, to continue to explore our Jardin d'hiver, our winter garden of our hopes and dreams. This period is a beautiful period of reflection and review and planning. And I hope you use that, because we know that spring is coming. Again, it always does. No matter what the weather feels like outside or internally, spring will be here. So in preparation for spring, I'd love you now to go into your garden and walk the land. Imagine it in your mind's eye. Look back at 2025 and ask yourself, did you like the way that garden looked? Did you love what grew there? Did you regret something that didn't? Did you have something that you've been trying to grow for an awfully long time and it's never produced? This is a good time to ask yourself why. What's happening? Think about, for the season ahead, what needs to be plucked, what needs to be pruned, what needs to be protected. Let's talk about plucking. There are things that could be in your jardin or in your ecosystem or in your world or in your soil that are counterproductive to this next version of you. You only know what those are. I don't. But I suspect there's one or two there. It could be the communities you're in. It could be the way you treat yourself. It could be someone in your ecosystem and the way they treat you. Those need to be plucked. And I'm not saying you have to do away with them. You have to put them in the right container. And the right container is not your Jardin Secret. Absolutely not. What needs to be pruned? I have to prune a lot of things because I tend to think in a cloud. I tend to have 1,000 different ideas that are derivatives of one idea that I started. So I know to make this one idea really grow next year, I probably have to prune it back. And that's absolutely normal. So think in your garden, is there something that needs pruning? And is there something that needs protecting? Is there a seedling that didn't get the nourishment? It didn't get the focus. It didn't get the commitment. It didn't get care or love or input. Maybe you need to take that seed and pull it in close and really look at it. And this is the good time to do that. And so like any farmer, winter is Preparation. For me, it's an exciting preparation. The winter of your life is your new spring. That's actually a quote I love. So in getting ready for spring, I would ask you, think about yourself as a farmer. Let's draw out those plots. What do you want to grow professionally? What do you want to grow spiritually? What do you want to grow for your family, for your business? Write out your plots and start thinking about what seeds you want to have in them. I will also say this is a perfect time to think throughout the year where you can be strategically mediocre. And even though none of us like that word, it's okay. Because I can't give 100% to my piano lessons at the same time as I give 100% to my business, to my friends, to my family, to my coaching. So I have to decide every day, where am I going to put the effort and where am I okay being mediocre? And that's one thing that I think we don't do enough of, is the planning of where do I want to excel today and where am I going to take the foot off the gas? And they're both acceptable. That's called being strategic. It's okay. The other thing I'd love you to do is, once you have your plots written out and the things you'd love to grow, let's think about measurement. Let's think about, how will you know it's succeeding? What are the important measurement tools for you? A lot of times we have a wonderful idea or a plan or a thought, and we just expect from point A to Z, it just bursts into an existence without thinking about the little steps that take place along the way. So ask yourself, what do you need to keep things growing? What will be your new focus? And how are you going to measure it? And the last thing I'd really love you to think about, and I'm going to dovetail into something else I want to share with you. Who will you have alongside you? Who will you have helping you to garden? Who shows up on those days when you're tired and you need support and energy and hope and faith? Who are those people? I'll also ask you to remain open to the thought that to get to the next version of you, you've probably not met the people that will help you. And why is that? Why is it just a wonderful thing to continue to expand our communities and our soil in a positive way? Is that there's so many other people who can have a positive influence on what the next version of us is. And even the people that we love and cherish, they may not be ready to see that next version of us. They may not be ready to help us grow into it. So how do we put ourselves in those situations with shared space, safe space, community space to share and support and grow with one another? Now, the last thing I want to leave you with, because this comes up over and over, and I wanted to talk about my retreats in Paris. It goes without saying, I'd love to have you join, but there's so much curiosity around why I do what I do. The first thing I will say is I have seen over and over and over again, not that I'm running clinical experiments or social experiments, but when you get a specific type of woman together in a room with others, there's magic that's created. They don't have to know anything about each other. They don't even have to know their names. And in less than 24 hours, they have the most beautiful, cohesive, caring environment you've ever seen. And I know this because I've seen it every time I've done a retreat. Now, if you've looked into my retreats, you'll know I do not have a set itinerary until I know who will be with me in Paris. No set itinerary. Would it be much easier for me to just craft it out on a paper now, arrange it, and just have people sign up? Absolutely. But that's not the type of experience I want. That's not what I want to deliver to people. And I don't think the ladies who come to my retreats need that. My retreats are focused on people who need to find a renewed version of themselves. They need to be reminded of how courageous and incredible they are and how much lies ahead of them, regardless of their age. So I talk a lot about taking risks, and to find that next version of ourselves, you have to take risks. You have to be willing to take a risk. And what guides your risk is your intuition. So I promise you, the ladies that show up here in Paris without knowing anything about the agenda, without knowing anything about who's going to be here, they've listened to their intuition. They've listened to their intuition that says, this feels like it's for me and I need to be there. Talk about letting in the magic. I need to be there and I'm going to take the risk and I'm going to join. And if you've done that, taken the risk to listen to your intuition without any sort of information, in fact, complete absence of information, you're already on the right path. You're already on the right path. So, of course, they're courageous. They love community. We work on their creativity while we're here. And what a wonderful thing it is. So that's why I run the retreats the way I do. I know whoever gets here ready to spend 3 days with another group of exceptional women is already on the path they need to be. Another reminder to leave room for magic. So, my friends, I'm so excited to start thinking about season 3, and I already am. And if you have ideas, I'd love to know. Please do not hesitate to email, message me on Instagram, reach me any way you can. I will remind you, on my website, I have information for journal prompts. If you'd love to check those out, please do. They're free, they're downloadable. Maybe that will help you think about your winter garden. And I'll be back again in the spring. More to talk about. I've got some really interesting topics, one of which I know is going to shock you. But we'll talk about that à la printemps. Okay, mes amis. Speak to you soon. À bientôt. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Generate Her. If something sparked your curiosity or took root in your imagination or helped you to see possibilities just a tad bit clearly, I'd love to hear about it. Don't forget you can always connect with me via my website, janebertch.com, or on Instagram. My handle is my name, @Jane Bertch. And if you'd like to go deeper, don't forget to check out my newsletter, Prompts from Paris, my retreats here in the city, journal prompts, and more that you can find on my website. Until the next time, may you keep tending your jardin, listening to your inner courage, and shining brightly right where you are. À très bientôt, mes amis.